As the second year of the four-year plan began, the focus of the Baha'i community shifted from planning to concerted action. 159 delegates from around the United States gathered in Chicago for the 88th Baha'i National Convention. 4 members of the Continental Board of Counselors and the National Spiritual Assembly joined the delegates and hundreds of Baha'i visitors to consult and gain a better understanding of current conditions in American Baha'i communities, to discuss the problems and prospects of the four-year plan and the process of entry by troops. The National Spiritual Assembly reported that the American Baha'is have made significant advances in the first year of the four-year plan. 2,023 travel teachers and 249 pioneers left their homes in the first year of the plan. Fully 70% of the $10 million required last year for the projects on Mount Carmel came from the American Baha'i community. At the same time, concern was expressed over seemingly inconsistent teaching efforts and that a small core of American Baha'is is doing the lion's share of the work.
As we proceed, let us remember every individual is called to the forefront of this battle and must engage enthusiastically in the broad campaigns of teaching. Every individual must hold regular firesides, and every individual become involved in training institutes. Every local spiritual assembly, rededicate yourself to the doubling of the active core of your Baha'i community. Engage in a systematic program of assembly development and refine the practice of the 19-day feast in every Baha'i community. Become an oasis of love and unity that will galvanize and unify every brother and sister that we will soon welcome into the Baha'i family.
Expert study by the National Teaching Committee further confirmed the analysis of the Universal House of Justice that America is ready for entry by troops.
According to some studies, there are 15 million people who now, at this moment, identify themselves as seekers for a new system of beliefs. But that's not all, because over the course of the next 10 years, many of these same studies say that as many as 25 million more Americans will enter stages of spiritual search and commitment. Friends, 40 million Americans, this is 1 out of every 6 Americans, over the course of the next few years.
At the midpoint of convention, delegates traveled to the sacred confines of the Mashriq al-Azkar for the election of the National Spiritual Assembly. A visit to the archives further deepened their connection to America's spiritual mission.
How come we never met?
Consultation was punctuated by dramatic presentations, singing, and prayer. Delegates also visited booths to learn more about projects coordinated by national committees and other agencies. Two Wings of a Bird, the long-awaited statement on the equality of women and men, was unveiled to an enthusiastic convention audience.
Our writings elevate the question of equality to one of sacred principle, with radical consequences for every sphere of human activity. We are challenged, first, to apply this spiritual principle to our own lives and to demonstrate our understanding of its importance through the example of the Baha'i community.
5,000 copies of the statement were sold out of the Baha'i bookstore within 2 hours of its release, and total sales have already surpassed 50,000 copies. On the Internet, daily reports and photos were posted on a new administrative site on the World Wide Web. A satellite telecast carried convention highlights to 47 remote locations. This live transmission enabled thousands of Baha'is around the country to participate in the important proceedings.
And I think that all of us should consider these coming years as some of the most exciting, the most important, the most challenging years of our entire life. Beloved friends, the four-year plan is the last plan of the 20th century. This is the last act of this great drama this great spiritual drama of the 20th century.
The time is now, the place is here, the players are we. We are called to immediate and dedicated action. Let us listen to the call of the Bobby dispensation, the reverberations of that call. Mount your steeds, O heroes of God.
Soon after the convention, Baha'is from some 40 Georgia communities launched a series of teaching activities for which they have been preparing since the beginning of the plan. With the assistance of the National Teaching Committee, a multidimensional plan was developed, calling for intensive grassroots teaching efforts by local communities and individual believers. Approximately 45 firesides are now being held throughout the metro area, and the Friends have set a goal to hold 900 firesides over a 3-month period. The Baha'is in each community have their own local goals and are planning their own teaching and proclamation events. Inter-community collaboration has been generated in a variety of areas. Much of this energy is concentrated around the Baha'i Unity Center in South DeKalb County. Spiritual meetings are held every Sunday morning and have proven to be an attractive setting for teaching, deepening, and strengthening community life.
I've never ever in my life heard about the Baha faith until about, I guess, a month ago. And when my friend had told me that, when they were talking about race unity and stuff like that, I had never heard that in the Baptist church. That, man, they never concentrated on that. I've always kind of felt like abandoned and alienated and distant at my church, and I never felt so comfortable to be myself. So I'm just enjoying myself and just visiting.
A number of talented believers are involved in a series of arts-related programs and activities, including these classes for young children, taught by professional musicians in the area. These youth have gathered for a training workshop, a part of the larger strategy for promoting the process of entry by troops.
Yeah, Dawn Breakers is our top club in Area 42. And because...
One of the more unusual activities is the Dawn Breakers Toastmasters Club.
First thing we know is Baha'is. Our first commitment is service. And I knew, first of all, I needed Toastmasters to develop my confidence as a speaker, as well as I wanted to serve the Baha'i community, to be able to stand in crowds and talk about the faith. I wasn't able and I wasn't ready before I started Toastmasters. Now I know I can do that with flair and confidence and convincingly share the message of Baha'u'llah.
The club is known for its diversity as well as its loving, supportive spirit.
Everybody is in here, everybody's a part of this club, and that's what makes it so good. You have all these different religions, different nationalities, different races. I mean, it's a truly diverse club.
See, America is not a melting pot. America is a salad.
We're speaking about raising the consciousness of humanity so it almost becomes a new humanity.
Activities kicked into high gear with the launching of a major media campaign designed to invite seekers to engage the Baha'i community and learn about the faith firsthand. A new program entitled The Power of Race Unity was aired 30 times in 2 weeks on several cable channels in the area. The period of the broadcast was also a time for intensive teaching activities. This teaching van visited a number of Cambodian, Laotian, and Vietnamese Baha'i families, deepening them while teaching the faith to others. Copies of the video were presented to some 30 dignitaries, including Mayor Bill Campbell, former President Jimmy Carter, and Mrs. Coretta Scott King. The small Baha'i group in Lithonia, eager to grow and establish their local spiritual assembly, set up this teaching table at the town festival. The displays, together with the added attraction of face painting for children, was successful in proclaiming the faith to a significant percentage of the local population. At the same time, they were receiving the message on television.
To receive your free copy of the Vision of Race Unity Statement or the Baha'i Magazine, please call area code 4.
Following each airing of the program, new telephone inquiries flowed into the project office.
I like very much to get some literature on the Baha'i faith. I saw the program on TV and was really impressed. They're
Each was followed up with literature, phone calls, and invitations to the nearest fireside.
Yes, and I'd also like to invite you to our Race Unity Festival on Sunday.
The midpoint of the campaign fell on Race Unity Day and was marked by a well-planned Race Unity Festival in Grant Park near the heart of Atlanta. Hundreds of people enjoyed the event, which was well covered by the local television stations. The festival, now in its 4th year, provided an ideal meeting place for people who had just recently heard of the faith on television.
My mom, she was like, this is good, go ahead and call, you know, because I needed something to do this summer.
Well, I'm not a Bahai person, but I've been sitting around reading literature in my own time. But it's been great. I have never seen a community of people so caring about each other, so neat. I mean, you see, for the first time I seen what mixing of the races really means.
I think it's great. I mean, everybody's no problems. Everybody's getting along. Everybody's hugging each other. If the whole world was like this, you know, it'd be a lot better. There wouldn't be no more fighting and arguing and racism and everything else. It's nice. I like it. Everybody's nice.
Mrs. Marion White, whose son has been a Baha'i for many years, was moved to become a Baha'i herself.
Well, it was something about the day that I enjoyed the company and of the unity of people, and we as coming together as one. This is what he wants. He wants us to be as one person and not 3 or 4. And that's the part that really impressed me. You know, as today was just like a celebration for me. Being in this environment has really done something for me. And I thank God for today.
The rising tide of activity is attracting attention, and the Friends find they are teaching at a new level.
During this point in the 4-year plan, Atlanta's on fire, and we are trying to make those fires small and big.
The Friends throughout the state are kept abreast of developments in The Trumpet, Georgia's statewide Baha'i newsletter. Other Friends enhance the impact of the broadcasts by inviting people to their homes to watch the program together, resulting in an increase in the number of firesides and seekers.
Yes, and I just wish that the message could be got out at a greater than it is presently, because I think if most people heard the message and digested it, that there'd be more people definitely interested in the faith.
Hello, yeah, it's been a while. Not much. How about you?
It's too soon to evaluate the final results of this initiative. However, it is safe to say that thousands have heard about the message, hundreds have responded directly to it, and a significant number of seeking souls are actively engaged in learning about the faith of Baha'u'llah. On May 30th, the Universal House of Justice made an announcement of historic proportions, the creation of a new element of Baha'i administration between the local and national levels, institutions of a special kind to be designated as regional Baha'i councils. Sharing some but not all of the characteristics of assemblies, the regional councils provide for a level of autonomous decision-making between the local and national assemblies. The councils will establish direct consultative relationships with the continental councilors, while their election by members of the local assemblies reinforces the bond between them and the local believers, bringing into public service capable believers known to the Friends in the region. Following an 18-month initial term, commencing with their inaugural election on the anniversary of the birth of Baha'u'llah, subsequent regional councils will be elected annually on May 23rd, the anniversary of the declaration of the Bab.
At this stage, the primary responsibility of the Regional Council is to take charge of the teaching and consolidation work throughout the region. This is the administrative groundwork for the process of entry by troops.
For nearly 10,000 Baha'is currently serving on local spiritual assemblies in the United States, this new development obligates them to become ever more acquainted with the believers throughout their region. Only in this way can they befittingly discharge their responsibilities as the electors of these fledgling institutions being established in the 4 regions of the country, defined by the Master in the tablets of the Divine Plan. In announcing these developments, the Universal House of Justice stated, "The establishment of regional Baha'i councils will greatly enhance the ability of the administrative order to deal with the complex situations with which it is confronted, and thus carry forward with increased vigor the propagation of the cause of God." Meanwhile, the maturation and development of local spiritual assemblies is another requisite to the four-year plan. To help stimulate this process, 27 Assembly Development Representatives have been appointed by the National Spiritual Assembly. These representatives are available to provide training directly to local assemblies, as well as programs at Baha'i schools and institutes on the functions and station of the spiritual assembly.
It's Baha'u'llah himself who prescribes the formation of Baha'i administrative bodies. For instance,
among the new training materials now available is A Miracle of Governance. This video deepening and its companion workbook explore the station of the local spiritual assembly, its duties, principles of operation, and its relationship to the community.
Of Baha'i institutions.
As communities grow, keeping track of membership, fund accounting, and other necessary administrative tasks assume new levels of complexity. To help ease this growing burden, a special task force of computing professionals is developing sophisticated software for the automation of these time-consuming functions. The development team will be testing the new software in several communities in the western states prior to releasing it to assemblies throughout the country. This project, in conjunction with the further development of the new administrative website, will greatly enhance communications, improve accuracy and synchronization between the national and local community databases, access more information in less time, and ultimately enable assemblies to devote more time to the fundamental tasks of providing spiritual leadership and direction to the community. The African continent is destined for spiritual distinction. In response to the summons of the supreme body of the faith, American Baha'is of African descent are taking action for the advancement of the cause in Africa. From South Africa to the Sahara, from Ethiopia to the western coast, African American Baha'is are reaching out with newfound determination and confidence. This group of 9 American Baha'is toured Namibia and Botswana, visiting schools, medical clinics, and institutes, presenting Baha'i literature to dignitaries, and meeting with their friends.
Responded to the call to make our way back through the Middle Passage, to come back to this soil and this land, to visit our brothers and sisters, to embrace, to learn from one another in serving this faith.
In Ethiopia, a group of adults and youth help in the consolidation work in various communities, conducting workshops and deepening classes on the fundamental teachings of the faith. In the village of Wiso, the American visitors participated in the dedication of the new Baha'i Center. Just 2 years ago, this village was open to the faith when one of its senior residents, Mr. Desi, overheard the conversation of an American Baha'i travel teacher at a bus stop. After following the Baha'i visitor to his hotel, he inquired further and soon embraced the faith. Returning to his village, he proclaimed the news, initially encountering strong opposition. His steadfastness eventually triumphed over this adversity, and today, nearly all the people in the village have become Baha'is. Sustaining and expanding this work has been the focus of much discussion at the 3rd Vanguard of the Dawning Conference in Birmingham, Alabama, and at the 11th Annual Black Men's Gathering at the Louis Gregory Baha'i Institute.
We may have lost that moment in history. We're talking about timing. We have 2.5 more years before the new millennium, and it's not any room for anybody to count their pennies, put the travel in second place, and adjust their time and figure out when they want to respond to the House of Justice. The House of Justice called them last year. They need to be getting ready to go this year.
Every African American Baha'i has been called out.
Every confirmation, everything that the House of Justice said to me was just so evident while I was there. From the rain to every minutiae of our trip was orchestrated, it seems to me, by the House of Justice.
Telephone hookups with the Friends in Namibia and the National Spiritual Assembly of Zimbabwe brought special messages.
It has imparted great joy and happiness to our hearts to receive the glad tidings of the coming of 5 devoted souls to our country, Zimbabwe. This momentous undertaking by the Baha'i African American ladies, unprecedented in the annals of the faith in Zimbabwe, and deserves to rank as one of the most compelling evidences of the creative power of Baha'u'llah. They that have forsaken their country is Baha'u'llah's own testimony. For the purpose of teaching our cause, these shall the faithful spirit strengthen through its power. By my life, no act, however great, can compare with it, except such deeds as have been ordained by God, the all-powerful, the most mighty.
Those who cannot pioneer themselves can deputize someone in their place.
If you can't go, send somebody. Everybody in the Baha'i world knows that African Americans are supposed to be going pioneering to Africa. Send somebody.
If someone is hesitating because they can't get the money, don't let that keep them from going. As Baha'is, if you deputize, you are there.
You are there.
And I think when we're obedient to the calls, we're promised untold blessings. Just from arising to serve. You know, there's a spiritual connectivity that we all have throughout the world. But for us as African Americans and the call to go to Africa, I have a deep desire and longing, and I feel that the spiritual forces are at work and are making this possible and happening for us. So I'm confident that if we all obey this command, we will be richly blessed and it will reverberate throughout the world.
As the plan moves into its second year, Baha'i communities everywhere are responding to the needs with creativity and energetic action. In Walla Walla, Washington, 4,000 people attended the Race Unity Day celebration hosted by the Baha'is. Color Me Human Week has become an annual celebration in St. Petersburg, Florida. Baha'is have enlisted cooperation in planning from several religions, cultures, and corporate sponsors. At the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, columnist Joyce Evans was so impressed with Baha'i efforts to promote race unity that she wrote an open letter to President Clinton. The article quotes the National Spiritual Assembly's Vision of Race Unity statement and recommends serious investigation of Baha'i communities as models of race unity. This Baha'i Race Unity float won second place in the 4th of July Stars and Stripes Parade in Claremont, California. In Knoxville, Tennessee, youth arose to teach following a weekend conference hosted by the city and county assemblies. In Lyons, Nebraska, Baha'is drove from great distances to help mobilize efforts to teach the faith to American Indians. The meeting was organized by the newly appointed American Indian Teaching Committee with the support and encouragement of the Continental Board of Counselors and the National Teaching Committee. On the Navajo and Hopi reservations, teaching work has resulted in 19 new declarations and rekindled the spirit of the faith in a number of veteran communities. The project was a collaboration between the local believers, homefront pioneers, and traveling teachers whose example of unity and diversity was a powerful source of attraction. The teaching team visited homes and hosted firesides in widely scattered settlements in this harsh and sparsely peopled land. The participation of Olya Ruhi Zadegan from the United Kingdom attracted media attention and was recognized with a mayoral proclamation in Gallup, New Mexico. The teaching project attracted people of capacity, the leader of an Indian sobriety organization, a well-respected race unity activist, a substance abuse counselor, and 2 nursing home administrators are among those who declared their faith. Reports from the project state that the stories of the Baha'i martyrs have given birth to a courageous group of new believers, prepared to consecrate their lives to the cause.
Thank you.
Growth generates opposition. In Dallas, the Baha'i Center was vandalized in opposition to the community's commitment to race unity. Covenant breakers have also stepped up their activities with a vigorous, aggressive presence on the Internet. These incidents strengthen the believers, generate sympathetic responses in the media, and create fresh opportunities for teaching. As Shoghi Effendi wrote more than half a century ago, the voice of criticism is a voice that indirectly reinforces the proclamation of its cause. The metamorphosis of the Mountain of God, a living sign of the dedication and vitality of the worldwide Baha'i community, continues at a breathtaking pace. The progress is evident on all fronts. Excavation for the lowering of Hatzianot Avenue has moved to the north side, while on the uphill side of the road, structural work is nearly completed on the Visitors Information Center, hollowed out of the Carmel bedrock. The extensive stonework on terraces 18 and 19 is beginning to reveal the architectural details. Just below, terraces 15 through 18 are beginning to receive additional garden foliage. At the bottom of the mountain, the ground has been cleared for construction of the entrance plaza, and structural work has, at long last, begun on terraces 1 and 2. The elegant finished shape of the Center for the Study of the Text is now visible. Areas of the roof which will be landscaped have received topsoil, so the union of the building with the mountain and its gardens will soon be complete. French artisans are working to put the finishing touches on the marble installation, while the workers inside have completed the drywalls and are working to finish the installation of granite floors, woodwork, and windows. Construction on the massive structure of the International Teaching Center has now reached above ground level. A force of over 100 workers is engaged in this building alone, as workmen have begun pouring concrete for the 4-story circular building that will complement the Center for the Study of the Texts on the other side of the Ark. The changes being wrought by these projects are by no means confined to the Baha'i properties. On Ben Gurion Avenue below the terraces, construction is in full swing to shift the road to the center line of the terraces, as the city of Haifa realigns its main thoroughfare to further enhance the monumental approach to the resting place of the martyred herald of the faith. The dramatic speed and progress of these developments is no doubt both a result of the sustained heroic sacrifices of Baha'is worldwide and a living symbol of great work that must yet be accomplished ere the close of this century of light.